Later this afternoon, I got to them. Oh boy, and I can't say who they are, and I can't really say.
That's fine.
And I can't really say what they told me, but it's ironclad. It's 1,000% true. Okay, I know exactly what happened to the kids. The kids are alive.
Breaking news in the Lilly and Jack Sullivan case. Just moments ago, sources close to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police confirmed that a shocking arrest is imminent. An arrest that is about to send shockwaves through a nation that has been captivated by this mystery for 7 long months. But this isn't the headline everyone expected. While the public has been focused on a household, investigators have been quietly uncovering evidence pointing to a name that has barely been whispered until now. Darren Geddes. Who is Darren Geddes? A 34-year-old construction worker living just 15 kilometers from the Sullivan property in Picton County, Nova Scotia. For months, he has been a ghost in the media coverage, a peripheral figure who seemed like just another face in a tight-knit community. But behind the scenes, the RCMP has been building a meticulous trap. They've been analyzing cell tower pings, conducting secret surveillance, and recovering deleted data that puts Geddes at the very center of a dark conspiracy. Sources indicate that an arrest warrant has already been signed by a judge. As you watch this, the police are likely closing in. The evidence that has emerged in the last 48 hours suggests this case is far more complex and disturbing than any of us imagined. It wasn't just a domestic tragedy. It was a coordinated operation. Investigators believe Geddes wasn't just a friend of the family. He was the key to making 2 innocent children disappear. Before we dive into forensic evidence, including a shovel caked in specific soil and a pair of work gloves that could hold the final, devastating truth, you need to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. This story is developing by the minute. We've been on the Sullivan case since day one, and the revelations we're about to share regarding Darren Geddes' connection to Daniel Martel will change everything you thought you knew about the morning of May 2nd. Did you see this twist coming? Let's look at the phone records that started it all. To understand why Darren Geddes is about to be led away in handcuffs, we have to look at the digital breadcrumbs left behind in the freezing early morning hours of May 2025. This wasn't a random act of violence. It was a timed, 2-man operation. Investigators have spent months painstakingly reconstructing a timeline using cell tower data that acts as a GPS for the soul. It started on the night of May 1st at 11:32 p.m. While most of Picton County was asleep, Daniel Martel made a call to Darren Geddes. It lasted 7 minutes. This wasn't a casual chat. This call happened just 15 minutes before Daniel was seen on security footage at a local gas station. Investigators believe this was a go signal. The moment the plan to dispose of 6-year-old Lilly and 4-year-old Jack was set in motion. But the most damning evidence came at 5:15 a.m. on May 2nd. A second call, lasting only 2 minutes, was placed from Daniel to Geddes. Forensic experts believe this was the final coordination. Minutes after that call ended, cell tower data shows Geddes' phone moving away from his home. He wasn't going to work. He was driving toward the exact same dense, wooded area where a delivery driver spotted Daniel's truck at 5:45 a.m. The pings don't lie. Both phones, Daniel's and Geddes', were in that specific, rugged terrain from 5:35 a.m. until 6:05 a.m. That 30-minute window is when investigators believe the children were buried. This isn't just a coincidence. It is a digital fingerprint of a crime. And while the phones provided the where and when, a secret search at Geddes' property 3 weeks ago provided a how. In the back of his truck, police found a shovel. It wasn't clean. It was caked in a very specific type of clay and organic material, a match to the soil in those woods, so precise that experts say it's definitive. But that wasn't the only thing they found in that truck. The digital pings placed Darren Geddes at the scene, but the physical evidence found during a silent search of his home 3 weeks ago is what truly turned the tide. Investigators knew they had to move quietly to prevent Geddes from destroying the remaining proof. When they executed the warrant on his truck, they found more than just a caked shovel. They found a pair of work gloves. These gloves were sent to a high-sensitivity forensic lab. The preliminary results are the stuff of nightmares. Traces of human DNA were detected, and while peer reviews are still being finalized, The early indicators suggest the DNA belongs to the Sullivan children. If confirmed, this is the smoking gun. It proves Geddes didn't just drive to the woods. He had direct physical contact with Lilly and Jack. He handled them. He moved them. Even more chilling are the messages Geddes thought he had erased. Using specialized recovery software, forensic technicians pulled deleted text from the days following the disappearance. On May 5th, as the community was out in force searching for the kids, a panicked Geddes texted Daniel Martell. He said this would be simple and no one would know, but they're searching everywhere and I'm freaking out. Daniel's reply was cold and calculated. Stay calm. Stick to the plan. This will blow over. But it didn't blow over. A witness has finally broken their silence. An early morning jogger who saw two men in those woods at 5:50 a.m. on May 2nd. They saw the shovels. They saw the two vehicles. They saw the intensive digging. For months, this witness stayed silent out of fear, but the weight of the Sullivan children's memory finally pushed them to come forward. They've now identified Daniel Martell and Darren Geddes as the two men in the woods that morning. The net has finally closed. But to truly understand how we got to this dark forest, we have to look back at the lives of Lilly and Jack, and the system that failed them. Amidst the talk of pings, soil samples, and arrest warrants, we cannot forget who this is for. Lilly Sullivan was only 6 years old. Her teachers remember her as a bright, creative soul who lived for her art. She would spend hours with markers and crayons, creating worlds far happier than the one she was living in. Her brother, Jack, was 4, a ball of energy who loved nothing more than watching the very construction trucks that men like Darren Geddes operated. He could name every piece of machinery on a job site with a preschooler's pride. They lived in Lansdowne Station, a rural, isolated pocket of Picton County, in a place where everyone knows everyone. The Sullivans lived in a blended family that was quietly fracturing under the weight of grinding poverty and domestic tension. Their mother, Mallie Brooks Murray, and her partner, Daniel Martell, were struggling. They were behind on rent, drowning in debt, and living in a house where the walls couldn't hide the sound of screaming. Neighbors have since come forward with heartbreaking accounts. They remember hearing the sounds of children crying in distress, followed by the harsh, angry bellows of an adult. One neighbor specifically recalls a child's voice, likely Lily's, screaming stop repeatedly, followed by the sickening thud of impacts against a wall. Why did anyone call the police? Like so many, they didn't want to interfere in a private family matter. Even the school tried to help. 3 weeks before they vanished, a teacher filed a formal report with Child Protective Services. She documented bruises on Jack's arms, fingerprint marks that looked like someone had grabbed him with terrifying force. She noted that Lilly, once outgoing, had become a ghost of herself, withdrawing into a silent, fearful shell. But the system was slow. The visit never happened. The intervention came too late. By the time the authorities were ready to look into the home, the children were already gone. As the investigation into Darren Geddes and Daniel Martell deepens, a disturbing pattern has emerged from the past, a trail of red flags that were ignored for years. Daniel Martell wasn't new to the eyes of the law, and his history with children who weren't his biological offspring was already stained with allegations of abuse. Before his relationship with Mallie, Daniel was involved with another woman who had a young daughter. During that time, daycare workers noticed similar marks on that child, bruises that suggested a man who lacked the patience or empathy required to care for a toddler. An investigation was launched after he allegedly grabbed the girl hard enough to leave visible impressions. However, as is too often the case, no criminal charges were filed. The relationship ended, and Daniel simply moved on to his next house, his next partner, and his next set of victims. Mallie Brooks Murray had her own troubled history. 2 years before the disappearance, she actually lost custody of Lilly and Jack. They were placed with their grandmother for months, while Mallie was ordered to address personal issues family members hint were related to her mental stability and her ability to provide basic hygiene and safety. She eventually regained custody, but those who knew her best wondered if she was truly capable of protecting them. When Daniel and Mallie came together, it created a powder keg of resentment. Forensic analysis of their phones shows a couple that viewed Lilly and Jack not as children to be loved, but as burdens to be managed. Daniel's messages to his friends were filled with vitriol about supporting kids that aren't mine. They felt trapped by their circumstances, and in that desperation, they turned to a man Daniel felt he could trust with dark secret, Darren Geddes. They needed someone who wouldn't ask questions, someone who valued discretion over the life of a child. And as we now know, that discretion had a price. We are now entering the most critical phase of the Sullivan investigation. The arrest of Darren Geddes isn't just another update. It is a key that could finally lead recovery teams to the exact location of Lilly and Jack. For 7 months, the community has searched the woods of Picton County, but the wilderness is vast and unforgiving. With the soil samples from Geddes' shovel and the eyewitness account of the jogger, the search area has narrowed from thousands of acres to a specific coordinates on a service road. The legal strategy is clear. By arresting Geddes as an accessory to murder, prosecutors are putting immense pressure on him to flip. They have the cell tower data, the DNA on the gloves, and the deleted, freaking out texts. His only way out may be to tell the RCMP exactly where those children are. This case is a haunting reminder of the failures of the systems meant to protect the vulnerable, from the neighbors who heard the screams and stayed silent, to the Child Protective Service's report that sat on a desk for 3 weeks, to the prior history of abuse that resulted in no real consequences. Lilly and Jack were failed at every turn. But today, the silence ends. As the RCMP prepares to execute this warrant, we are waiting for the official press conference. Will Geddes talk? Will Daniel Martel finally face the ultimate charge? And most importantly, will Lilly and Jack finally be brought home for a proper burial? Stay tuned to True Crime Vault. We are monitoring the police scanners and local sources in Nova Scotia. As soon as the handcuffs click on Darren Geddes, we will be live with the update. Drop a comment below. Do you think Geddes was a mastermind or just a hired hand in this tragedy? How should the system change to prevent another Sullivan case?